So are we doing this thing in Nashville? This silent OK sign thing?
If you want to do it, I don't care.
I feel like that would be an amazing thing to do. Look. I've already started creating the piece. I just need to make sure that that's okay to use. Copyright stuff. Emojis are protected under copyright law. We could print them and give them out, but we can't technically sell them without violating copyright laws. I could create t-shirts out of it and sell them in group support. Not the OK sign, but the OK emoji art, the art itself. Yeah, probably just do an OK sign and cut it out. Where is my music? Where's my music? There it is. Yeah, that was already fixed a long time ago. Once we bring everything up, it'll show here. But yeah, fix that right there. Waiting. Hey, our old friend Bayonet is back. Hang in there, buddy. We're fixing to go live in about 2 minutes. Welcome back, Bayonet. If you want to interact with the other folks, feel free to join us
trying to get in the mood for Halloween, man.
It'd be fucking funny to pretend like we were confused about when Halloween was. You dress up for this live show. We do nothing for the Halloween live show, and then I dress up for the one after. We totally just missed each other on the notes.
Everybody's like, what the
The stupid shit we come up with. I don't know, man.
So apparently the bathrobe episode was somewhat of a success, and people tend to like that. So I guess we're going to be back in our bathrobes here soon.
I guess so. I'm going to have to get one that's a little more stunning and brave.
Stunning and brave. Fuck. Which reminds me, you guys might want to hang out for the Halloween episode next week.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I'm not gonna tell anybody what I'm gonna be. So
yeah, I'm not telling nobody nothing. I may.
They're just gonna have to tune in for that one.
I may do the same. Might be both of us.
I just wondered if we're gonna be able to get through the show.
I guess our music's playing again.
I just wondered if you're gonna be able to get through the show without laughing.
We'll find out. All right, 1 minute.
60 seconds. Party time.
And we're live.
Already?
Yeah, that was weird. All right, so what is a parent to do when you tried virtually everything to get off your kid, get your kid off his favorite free-to-play video game, Fortnite? Sue the game creators, of course. On today's show, we discuss the very real lawsuit that is happening. We'll give you an update on the United Auto Workers strike, and we'll get to know our new friend Rachel Tobias from RTR Truth Media tonight.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Tonight on the Unframe of Mind show.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
And welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
Anthony Trewick.
And we're here with our special guest, Rachel Tobias from RTR Truth Media. Okay, now's the part where you say, hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Sorry, that's my fault. I didn't clue you into the intro part that I also have to roll. At any rate, so I'm glad you decided to come on and join us live. I know it's it's a brand new thing for you here, just not our show and your show. I don't know you, you don't know us, but I saw your profile. I saw your profile on Twitter, and I'm like, I just messaged you, and I'm like, hey, we gotta like do a collab or something. And then your response was something about you were getting ready to take a hike with a prepper group. That you're like, yeah, we'll do it, but I may not be. Could you tell me a little more about that? I'm really curious.
Yeah, of course. So I'm an incredibly active person in that I have a lot of interests and hobbies, and usually because I work full time, weekends are my time. In addition to co-hosting RTR Truth Media, weekends are also my time to kind of get out and do things such as working on survival skills and primal skills and things like that, part of what I'm interested in. So I joined a meetup group. There's the website meetup.com. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You can find almost any group on there. And there was this urban survival group which teaches a lot of classes about how to bug out in a city or how to bug out in the wilderness or anything in between. And I've done crazy stuff with that group, like -10 cold camping, lots of stories on that. But basically, I was out that weekend learning about, in addition to just hiking, how to build a shelter, how to tie different knots, and how to start a fire.
That actually sounds like an immense amount of fun. Even if you're not really into the prepper scene, that just sounds like it would be a lot of fun. I mean, because just the basic skills you end up learning and the kind of situations you'd put yourself in to get to figure out, okay, how would I handle this or what would I do in this situation? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, not everyone talks about the politics or necessarily all the motivations behind joining, but a lot of people tend to have the same values in wanting to learn those primal skills, and that's something that's very much lacking in our sort of modern age.
Right on. I appreciate you filling us in on that. I used to do a lot of meetup.com stuff. I used to use the site a lot until they went all super social justice warrior on me, and then I'm like, I just can't use it right now. And I can't wear Converse either. I feel like I'm on a bit of a boycotting spree because I was like, you guys are getting ridiculous. But and I love Converse and I love Meetup.com. It's like these are great products, and we're trying to.
We'll take it back. We'll take it back.
I know I'm trying to drop Facebook, and I don't want to be on Google anymore. It's like everybody's like all the great products. Like I don't know what it is about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much a lot of the West Coast technocrats running the ship there. But honestly, I mean, not to divert too much from the issue, but supply and demand isn't necessarily going to change. There's a lot of people that kind of agree with our various viewpoints, and I think the left just kind of wants to put across like everyone agrees with them when it's not true. It's just more prevalent on social media because people are louder.
Right on. So I forgot to actually mention that you are an illustrator, comedian, and an anarchist into evolutionary psychology and philosophy. Like I mentioned the co-hosting thing for the RTR Media, but I forgot the rest of it. That's what got me. I was like, oh, I think this would be an interesting conversation. So before we get into all that, I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about yourself a little more. I'd love to get to know more about you. But before we really get too hot and heavy into the show, we got to we got to bring up our favorite segment of the show.
PHOBEISMIST.
That's the first word you said the whole time.
PHOBEISMIST. PHOBEISMIST. PHOBEISMIST.
All right, let's bring up ladders.
All right.
Let's do this.
Well, you weren't supposed to say anything.
Oh,
yet.
she gave it away.
Yeah.
Fuck. We got to do it over.
It's
All
over.
Right.
Oh no! Hold
Show's
on!
done.
No!
We gotta
It's
go. Bye.
Save it.
so what's the protocol for this when this happens? Because this has never happened before.
What?
I've never told the guest ahead of time what we're supposed to be offended by, and then have them ruin it for us.
Well, the question still remains: is she going to be offended? That's the challenge.
All right, we're gonna try this again.
PHOBEISMIST. PHOBEISMIST. PHOBEISMIST.
All right. And on today's episode of the PHOBEISMIST, we're gonna tell you why you should be offended by the ladders. Yes, ladders. Probably one of the most offensive things that I was able to think of this week, because I was just in my PHOBEISMIST mode of thinking, and I'm like, these things are severely offensive. And I had like 3 different reasons.
I've got a good one.
All right, so what do you got? Tell me.
Okay, so if you think about it, this is the stepping. Well, it's a ladder, so you got to climb that ladder. Most men climb the ladder to get to the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the patriarchy is usually mostly men at the top. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's really
Most
good.
men usually are at the top of the ladder.
All right. What about you, Rachel? Is there anything inherently offensive about this for you?
Yes, I actually wrote down 4 things.
Oh, 4 things.
Yeah,
Good
come on,
God,
4
you're
things.
like an overachiever and shit.
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm happy to go through that list real fast if you're
No,
ready to hear it.
hey, absolutely. I don't want to. Listen. If we're trying to educate people, we don't want to get in so big of a
Yeah.
rush that people don't understand why they should be offended.
I want people to be really up on their outrage. So the first thing is the ladder, also known as the millennial bookshelf, is oppressive to footstools. It helps children escape out of windows during drag story hour. It is. It only speaks Spanish when confiscated at the border. And when it's turned horizontally, it's offensive to Asian people because it looks like railroad tracks.
Damn.
Wow, these are you're
She
like
gave this some thought.
I know, and she only found out about it like 10 minutes ago.
We got to bring her on for the next.
I know this is
next
great.
shows.
I feel like we've got you're not even a PHOBEISMIST in training. You're like a pro PHOBEISMIST already.
She just took my job.
That's amazing. So listen, as it turns out, I'm currently looking for a new co-host.
That's fucked up.
Must be a low wage, low skill job.
So my 3.
Is
my
this the part where I just get up and walk away and not say nothing?
That'd be hilarious. I just superimpose her face where you are right now.
I'm
You
going
guys
to
just
work.
want a table just so you can flip it. That's all it
So as a little callback from last week, we talked about climbing walls, and the reason they were offensive is because they're not handicap accessible. Well, that also applies here, is why I kind of got onto the ladder subject, because ladders are not handicap accessible, and that's hugely offensive to our handicap community. I mean, I feel like the ladder producers should be forced to create ladders with accessible wheelchair ramps that go up the sides of them. I think that would be a much better, much more inclusive world.
Did you ever think that maybe one of the reasons why they're in a wheelchair is because they fell off a ladder?
And if that ladder would have had wheelchair ramps, they probably wouldn't have fell off.
Well, what if they weren't in the wheelchair to begin with?
They're just a klutz.
That's what I'm saying, you know?
So the other thing is that they actually discriminate against tall people. See, we've got ladders and footstools and things like that are
How do they
created. I'll explain. They're created to help short people reach places. There's all these companies who have created these devices to help short people, but there's nobody that's created devices to help tall people get down lower. You know what I'm saying? Like, short of actually cutting you off at the knees, like, what device do you actually have?
But, I mean, if you ever need a glass from the upper cabinet, just give me a call and I'll just come right over.
That's a long wait for a glass. 3 hours later.
I'm just saying, man, I'll help a brother out.
And ladders are violent. Ladders are violent because, as a rumor has it, if you walk underneath them, they'll give you bad luck, and there's no telling what's going to happen to you. That's not cool. We can't have that in our bubble wrap world today.
Ladders are offensive because they're usually made in China.
Ladders are made in China.
I think that's everything that's made in China.
That's not offensive. That's just good business practice. At any rate, all right. So let's move on back to the regular old show. Now, Rachel, I was curious about your anarchist views and where does that come from? Because a lot of people put anarchist in their profiles, but I've found that anarchist tends to mean different things to different people. So I was just curious in terms of, what do you think that is, or what does that mean to you?
Oh man, so anarchist is the general umbrella I use when I refer to being a lover of liberty, and I'm a voluntarinist, which is if you took the principles of anarchy, if you took that viewpoint of self-sufficiency and that understanding, the NAP, kind of utilizing that and taking it to a place where ideally all interactions would be voluntary and peaceful oriented, that's where you land voluntarism, which is under that umbrella of anarchy.
I like that. Is that also right in that umbrella under the NAP, non-aggression principle? Yeah, exactly. So is that one of your huge first principles that you tend to govern your life by as well? I like, I'm going to sound like that guy. I like the NAP as sort of a very fast, card to slam down on the table. Although the NAP, obviously, it's not perfect. There's things that could be added on or extended of, but in terms of just a quick summary, it's a good basis. Right. Nice little box. Because we love nothing more than to put people in little boxes on our show. That's why it's called Unframe of Mind, and it's why the logo is an open box. We're still working on getting it closed, at any rate. Yes, and the ladder is actually the libertarian poor man's jetpack. Just I'm sorry, say that one more time. The ladder can be a libertarian poor man's jetpack. Libertarian poor man's jetpack. You're going to have to unpack that for me. I'm saying unpack that pack. I'm just kind of calling upon that libertarian joke of, we won't need roads, so we'll have jetpacks. Oh. It's like, well, we didn't quite, let's say don't have access to really cool jetpacks, so it's just like, all right, everyone get on a ladder. And surely libertarians don't think that we don't need roads. That's ridiculous. We definitely need roads. At any rate, I'm doing it again. Why am I doing that again? Did you hear that? Like 3 times now. What? At any rate. You did good for a while. I know. I just when 3 times in the last 5 minutes. I pointed that out, it was an episode we did a couple months. I think it was at the beginning of the year. I pointed that out, and you quit doing it. You still had the stuttering problem, but the inner rate. Oh. Look who's on! Yeah, so we got a few people in the comment section joining us tonight, and I appreciate that. Hey, Jeremy, our friend Jeremy, watching over on the YouTubes, he says people use ladders to get into movies for free. I've never done that. Look who's on, Ryan. Ryan's on. Oh, look. Ryan says, "Can y'all suggest some good nose hair trimmers? Mine hasn't been satisfactory lately." I was reading up where it says ladders were made for Daniel. I seen that. I just forgot. Yeah. No, you didn't. These boots were made for walking. And that's just what they'll do. All right. Well, it's good to see, our good friend Ryan back. Yeah. If he was really as popular as he says he is, he'd probably be, recording new episodes for his podcast, Paddle and Finn, instead of sitting around watching our boring ass show. I was going to do it, but, No. I'm going to end up pissing him off. Yeah, let's skip an episode before we make fun of the poor boy. If Rachel, Ryan's one of our friends. We have an Unframed Minds Facebook group we're all in, and he started a new podcast, so we like to give him shit sometimes. If you want the backstory on that, you can go watch back a few episodes. It's fully covered. So, in our first story tonight, I wanted to talk about terrible parenting. Insofar as I have a news article that I wanted to bring up, if I can find the damn thing. I put it in here somewhere. I swear I did. All right, so we'll just click on the link because that's why I do that, just in case I lose my link. It's almost as if I was prepared or something. So, parents sue Fortnite creators, saying the game is addictive as cocaine. Okay, when I first heard the story, I'm like, what the fuck? So just to give you a quick background for anybody who hasn't heard the story, there is a class action lawsuit filed by a Canadian law firm on behalf of two parents who say their children have an addiction to Fortnite. The law firm representing them, Calex, announced the suit Thursday in a statement. The lawsuit makes the claim that Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, knowingly put on the a very, very addictive game, which also geared toward youth. Alessandra Esposito Chartrand, a lawyer with Chattex, told the BBC. Okay, the parents say that the Fortnite creates a chemical addiction in players by releasing dopamine in a way that is similar to taking drugs like cocaine. Fortnite allegedly worked with psychologists to make the game as addictive as possible. No shit, that's what we do. Duh.
This has been going on for God.
That's what chip companies do when they make their chips. They try to design them so they're the exact perfect amount of saltiness and crunchiness. And cereal companies do this all the time, so people will buy them at higher rates.
So how is this? I don't understand that. How is this the gamers' fault? I would think it was the parents for allowing your child to play the game.
That was my first thought.
If you had such a concern, then just turn off the
You
game.
would think, you would think, instead of like, hey,
Tell your kids,
by the way,
hey,
kid,
let's go outside and go play. Let's go be active somewhere.
I don't know.
As a parent,
Walk in
why
the
don't you
room,
look at your child and say, let's go somewhere.
unplug
Let's
the
go
game
do something.
system? Like, I don't know, go in there and confiscate it, take it, I don't know, cut off the power to the boy's room. You don't owe him power in his room.
Out of curiosity, how old? So this seems to be a class action lawsuit, which is probably multiple people, but do you know the range of the age of the people?
No, it was just based on its class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of two parents. That's all it says there. I don't know.
I don't think this really matters. This is more of a moral stance of the parents not doing their job as parents.
Yeah, Facebook does it. I don't see anybody suing Facebook for creating their feed to be they actually do the same thing. They use psychologists to try to make it more dopamine hitting addictive type game,
Yeah. The only age, and you're right, it's on the responsibility of the parents who have stewardship over that kid. But the only reason I bring up the age is because they're trying to say that the game was rated, I guess, T for teen, which is supposed to exclude a certain demographic.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just curious overall.
Well, it says here later in the article that Fortnite is rated T for teen, which means only people age 13 and up are supposed to play it.
I mean, I have a porn addiction, but you don't see me going out and suing, Pornhub.
Why haven't we done that?
By the way.
Yeah. But there's something I definitely want to add to this article, if that's cool with you guys, that I think is...
That's why we have you here. You're like our
cool.
third co-host. Just jump in whenever.
I'm going to be replaced. I already know it.
Yeah, so here's another whole issue on top of this. So I definitely agree it's the consumer responsibility, but the World Health Organization, starting in 2017 and then really finalizing in 2018, tried to actually declare such a thing as a gaming disorder for people obsessed and addicted to playing video games. And this is a huge problem, one, because that gives legitimacy to the parents' complaint, which I don't think is legitimate at all in terms of, trying to sue the company, right? It's on the parents' responsibility. Mm-hmm. I just want to say the problem with the World Health Organization getting involved is when it comes to gun safety laws and regulations, that's where you can see maybe someone getting labeled with having a disorder because they have an addiction to video games, and that being utilized against them to prevent them from owning a firearm.
That is an interesting
and to stigmatize
point.
them.
Yeah, that is an interesting
Yeah.
point. That's one of the backdoor routes I've heard people are going to try to disarm
Yeah.
citizens. That's
Absolutely.
I
So
don't.
it might
I'm not
seem-
necessarily saying that this has anything to do with that specific direction, but it is very feasible that they could use that particular claim by the World Health Organization to help bolster their point.
So I think these two things kind of work in tandem
Mm-hmm.
to eventually lead to that outcome.
Oh, we lost.
Hmm?
We lost your.
No.
Okay, we lost your sound for a minute, Rachel.
I'm good. I just hit mute.
Oh, okay. So there's another element to this too that I don't think we've brought up just yet is the fact that why is your kid addicted to the game to begin with? You know, why is it like?
Nobody is putting the responsibility of this issue back on the parents.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is
Somebody needs to hold them accountable for them, I guess, per se, because there's nobody seems to be taking ownership of this at all.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but if you're going to be addicted to a game, don't be addicted to a shitty game.
I heard that. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is I heard this really excellent point is that I've heard parents they'll let their kids have tablets, but they feel like it's their responsibility as a parent to actually engage the kids to the point that they would rather interact with you as a parent than play that game. You know, it's on you to basically compete with that game and be more interesting and more engaging in your child's life.
Well, I mean, yes and no, but there's been times where we've hung out and we've taken our kids either hiking or whatever we've done, and they've always seemed to enjoy that.
Yeah,
I've never felt like we've had to compete with video games.
Well, we've never had. That's just it. You know, whatever we're out doing to them is more interesting. Like I don't make them come along. If they want to stay here at the house, they can stay at the house.
Right.
But what do they usually want to come along?
But they asked to do that stuff.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. So
I mean,
that's what I'm saying is whatever we're doing is more interesting to them than sitting down playing a game. So and I feel like that's where we're doing a better job than these fucking parents are. It's like you guys obviously aren't that interesting.
It kind of makes me wonder what's going on in this household for them to, like, you kind of want to know, like, what's going on that's allowing, these parents to sue Fortnite. Like, is this child so unruly now that he's locking himself in the bedroom, playing a video game? Like, there's got to be an element to this is that we're not seeing, although I haven't read the article, so I'm not really sure. But this just seems like shitty parenting is just what it seems like to me.
Yep, I think we're all on the same page there. So I suppose that's about all we can say about that. Oh, well, okay, so from the comments section here, Jeremy says, addicted to Fortnite dances. I can see that being bad. Dude, at least they're up exercising. Minecraft addiction, says Andy. Yeah, it's definitely a real thing. I may be guilty of being a little bit addicted to Minecraft again lately. I've only been playing at least a couple hours every night for the last 2 weeks.
I get people that I work with and friends that I know. They're like, "Hey man, do you play video games?" And no, that's just I've always kind of had that mentality. That's something that you do as a child, not as an adult. Nothing against people that do it as an adult. It's just I've always thought that was just something you did as a kid.
Yeah.
You grow out of it.
I
You move
enjoy
on
it.
to. I mean,
I used
there's
to
nothing.
be.
There's nothing against people who play video games now. If you're an adult, I'm just
Well-
saying. For my thought process is that is something that I thought you just kind of grow out of.
Right.
And I just
you're
move on
wrong.
to other things.
Well,
You're-
here's the,
Honestly, I
here's
ain't
the-
got time for it.
Go ahead, Rachel.
a couple of things on that, which is number one, I used to be addicted to World of Warcraft back in the day.
Yeah.
It's just so bad.
I purposely avoided that game because I knew I would not get anything else done. I had to avoid that game.
Yeah. And number two, like, video games can absolutely be addictive because they're such a substitute for reality and they have such a
It's a
high
shitty
reward
reality.
with a low cost.
Right.
Kind of like people can experience what it's like to be a hero without having to leave their house and actually go do things.
And actually accomplish tasks. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
preset set of goals and tasks that you can do to kind of have this illusion like you're actually succeeding or you're doing something.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, quick story is I found out that hit home to me when I was playing an MMO called Perfect World a long time ago. It was a free MMO, and I had spent forever working to get this awesome dagger for my character. And, had to do all these quests and get all these materials. And I got the dagger and I'm like, yes, I'm like high as a kite. And I go to work that night and I'm telling my friends and my coworkers about it. And they couldn't care less. They couldn't give a shit. They're like, oh, yeah, that's cool. was like,
If only people had this much enthusiasm playing games as
Yeah.
they did in real life, they would be so successful.
yeah, that's why I'm not doing it as much. And you know, as a good outlet, yeah, it's fine. You know, I keep myself under control there because I know I have a tendency to get addicted to stuff. As far as games go, I have allowed myself a 1 game rule at a time. That's it. Like if I'm playing a game, it's 1 game at a time. I'm not, you know, I've missed out on a lot of games as a result, but I've also been able to do things like create the show and interact with the community and get stuff done around the house and raise my kids properly. You know?
Yeah, ever since I became an anarchist in 2016 and kind of going down a rabbit hole of different conspiracies and things, I've stopped consuming nearly as much media. I used to do the thing of like working and then being burned out and coming home and watching a movie or just turning on Netflix or whatever and kind of going mind numb for several hours. And ever since sort of like understanding a better idea of how the world works, I've just cut that shit out. I'll watch things occasionally. Like I've watched Game of Thrones, but I've sort of become that person where people are like, oh, did you see this movie and that Marvel movie and that blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no,
Nope.
sorry. Yeah.
No.
Unless it's a special thing. And I've gotten so much more done and bettered my life in so many ways because I took that time and utilized it towards like productive things.
Yep. I can't even tell you how many movies I've not seen as a result of that.
So Laura said in the comments section, a lot of parents use video games as babysitters.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree to that. That's the same thing as, you know, that kind of falls with tablets too. You see a lot of these kids with devices, not necessarily playing video games, but just in general, whether it's watching movies or. And what is this thing with kids watching other kids play video games? What is that about?
Oh, that's
I've never understood that.
you're talking about esports.
What?
You're talking about esports,
You're
electronic
talking about like
sports.
Twitch streams?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
That is a multi-billion-dollar industry right now.
I've never understood that. Why don't you just
See-
play the game yourself rather than
Like
watching
PewDiePie.
somebody else?
Well, I didn't understand it either, but I've been exposed to it as a kid because my brother used to. He didn't really care to play it. He liked watching me play. I was so much better at it at the time. I guess he's 3 years.
Oh, so watching somebody else is better at playing the game than
Yeah,
necessarily you are.
and like I would rather play. He would rather watch. So it was like a win-win. You know, it was like so.
I've
I
never
would
heard
I would
that.
play through single player games, and he'd want to watch the whole time and see me play the game. And I never understood it because I can't wrap my mind around sitting
I
around
think-
watching somebody play a game.
That's just game porn, like vicariously sort of watching someone beat a hard level or something like that. And I think that's almost just kind of worse in a way.
Well, I don't know. I think I mean there's no victim here. So if that's what you were into, hell, go for it, man.
I was always kind of
It's
curious.
kind of
about
like regular
that.
sports. I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between watching a football game and watching somebody, blast each other to death on Call of Duty on TV. It's kind of the same thing. It's just a different
Okay,
type
I
of.
can get
It's just a
that,
different
yeah.
interest. It's a spectator sport,
Yeah.
is all it is. But go ahead, whatever you got. Nothing. No. Okay. I'm trying to do stuff.
I'm just
here.
trying to figure out what I'm going to do after this Wednesday's live show. I mean, I'm apparently being replaced. So
What?
Do I need to have like a goodbye speech at the end of this episode or what?
Dude, you gotta hop onto a helicopter and just kind of take off. We all watch you just leave.
I got to make
Dude,
like
yeah.
a grand finale here,
It's got to be like an epic exit.
You just come out, you rip off your shirt, it says vote for Hillary 2020. You're like,
Fuck that.
I would pay to see that show. It would be amazing. All right, so we've covered offensive ladders. We've covered a shitty parenting. Up next on the list is the United Auto Workers strike. Mm-hmm.
They're still striking.
Yeah, they are
This
currently
is
there
getting
now.
so old.
Yeah, it is. It's gotten ridiculous. So that being said, according to that, I brought up this timeline here. If I could get my shit together, that would be
Old
great.
man glasses.
Yeah, well, I can't see shit, not without blowing up the screen, so I can actually see it. Anyway, so what's been going on here lately, from my understanding, is they actually did come to a deal. The middle of October. Let me find my spot here. Now, what I heard was they came to a deal between the union and the automakers, and the deal was something like this: the current time to progress to top pay with full-time, full benefit status is 8 years. The United Auto Worker wants to knock it down to 4 years. The union also wants temporary workers to be able to qualify for progression. Workers will get a 3% raise and lump sum bonuses in 2 or 4 years. Workers will get enhanced health care at no extra cost. So at the beginning of all this, GM was trying to tell them that they're wanting them to pay some of their healthcare cost, 11%. And as I've brought up before, that's still way better in terms of industry standards for healthcare insurance. And now, as part of this particular offer, the workers will get enhanced healthcare at no extra cost. So not only are they not having to pay for their current healthcare, but they're getting more healthcare options, according to this deal anyway. So from what I understand, they're supposed to be having another meeting. They're supposed to be currently voting. Right now, based on this article anyway, union members will vote on the deal throughout the week. All ballots are expected to be turned in by Friday, October 25th. So we'll find out in a couple days if they agree to the deal as far as the workers
doesn't affect my life
themselves. Well, it does. It does mine because I'm directly related.
Well, I'm
in
also
the
in the industry too, but
it could have an impact because what's going to happen is if they end up getting this deal and it's so much better than what they had before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody was posting in our chat. Wouldn't y'all like to have this deal? Wouldn't y'all like to have $11,000 bonus and this and that? And I'm like, yeah, of course I would love to have those things, but that's just not how you run a business.
But not at the risk of not going to work. No,
right.
And
GM, just since I've been working where I'm at, they've already closed down like twice, as far as I remember. They've already.
So the article I looked at said not only are they getting these benefits, right, but there's actually a problem with not enough parts. Isn't that right? That there's slow production also because the GM isn't actually receiving all the parts that it needs. So even if the workers do get the benefits that they need, there's still this other problem that they have to resolve.
Yeah. So not only are they having issues with this particular strike, but all of the subcontractors that work in the plant, all of the suppliers that feed parts to the plant, well, they can't work. They've been out of work for at least a month. And by the time they do start back up, they're still probably going to be out of work for at least a little bit longer while those parts that they produced in the meantime are they get used up. So it's like, okay, it's created such a ripple effect throughout the whole industry. But what I was driving at is if they do get this deal, if they do agree on the deal and vote on it, it's ratified and all that good shit. What's going to happen is you're going to have a hard time competing on labor cost in other area industries. Not only the auto industry, but all the other businesses around you. People are going to come flocking to that business to try to work for that. Problem is, the higher you raise your labor costs, the more expensive it makes the vehicles. People aren't going to keep buying vehicles. They end up ultimately down the road having to shut down the plant again because they're not making the sales they need to make to keep up with the costs.
Right.
Now, all those people that have left all these other businesses to try to go work at GM, now they're struggling with labor demands. They don't have enough labor. So what do they have to do? They have to up their prices as well just to compete, just to keep their employees there.
And this is one of the reasons why Nissan never went union. I learned about that. So, I mean, because of things like this,
Yeah.
they were smart not going that direction. I just will have to say that. But I don't know. I just, the company I work for, we cover everybody in the auto industry. So it's not just one particular, person or, vehicle. So
we've been keeping you updated on that whole thing little by little as we go. And I actually got into quite a bit of trouble with a lot of my family members. And I've got other
people
family.
will agree to disagree.
I know.
You know how that goes.
I've got other people who are being affected and have not worked in the last month and haven't got any. They don't even get like my sister-in-law has not worked in the last month.
I don't feel bad for her.
My sister-in-law, she's one of the subcontracted employees. She don't work for GM.
Oh.
Yeah, she's one of the auxiliary people, the companies that are affected by the decisions.
Oh, okay.
Of this
No,
company.
I was talking about actual GM workers.
Yeah, it would be like if you were laid off as a result of this. Luckily, you're serving more than just one auto industry or one auto company, so you were able to supplement.
A lot.
Yeah, so that's a small piece of, but she works exclusively for a contractor that feeds parts to.
Yeah, and it goes back to, and I've said this time and time again. It's just people that work in the auto industry, and if you're part of the union, going into signing that contract, what's going to happen if you go on strike. And I don't feel bad that you're not getting paid. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
You were fully aware of this. You should have put some money back, put a little money in the kitty and, for times like this, and you wouldn't be struggling.
And I don't remember if we covered it on the show or not. I'm I'm not about Spring Hill, them going to the food banks. Yeah, we did. We covered that because I played the video.
And that pisses me off.
I played the video of that
And
guy. He's got that real nice house, and he's got that super nice truck. Like his house was probably 3-4 times bigger than mine. His truck is at least 10 times more expensive than mine.
But that's the problem, is that people think that they're, I wouldn't say the word entitled, but it just seems to me that people aren't thinking long term. If you know that there's a potential of a company going on strike, you're not going to get paid. Put some money back.
Yeah, no shit.
You know, it's going to cover the cost of what you're going to have to end up paying for, you know, when you're not getting paid. You know, so that's why I don't feel bad for these workers that, you know, that are, you know, currently not working and not getting paid. You know, it's the same thing with the government, you know. There's a potential that, you know, that the government may shut down and federal workers aren't going to get paid. You know that going into it. Put some money back, you know. I mean, this is just common sense.
It is basic common sense, absolutely.
You know, you should be saving
long term. You should be saving money regardless of
right. You should.
Yeah, there should always be a little bit of a
higher risk.
Yeah, just in case we go on strike money, like a little account that's just for that.
I mean, even if you open up like an account and you have like $50 or $100 taken out each paycheck, if you get paid weekly or biweekly, that's still enough money to at least cover the cost of your mortgage or utilities or something, you know, but people don't think that way. You know, everybody's wanting to think one, you know, for that month and not further. So it's a problem.
Anything to add, Miss Rachel, before we move on to the next subject?
I'm just listening pretty closely. I mean, I'm just going to say the average bullet points that I believe in, which is people have a right to collectivize if they need to. But at the same time, the employer has a right to fire them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it depends on if people sign a contract and what the terms and conditions between that employer are. Obviously, I'm against any sort of government regulation or intervention. We've clearly seen the backlash of when minimum wage laws are passed. It makes things worse for people. So, yeah, and at the same time, I do think there is an ethical responsibility at the behest of the employer in a way. Like, for instance, when I think of Walmart, how Walmart or Amazon, how people are treated, like, I don't think they should be treated shittily, but at the same time, I don't think the state should intervene, and I don't think that the employer has to meet all their demands necessarily. It should be a voluntary relationship.
Yeah, give and take,
right.
a mutual,
We'll agree.
We'll agree for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the best.
So
It sucks,
here's the thing: the reason they're in this situation to begin with has nothing to do with like they're busy blaming GM and GM's busy blaming the employees, and like neither one of them I feel are the problem. I feel like a lot of the major problems and why the vehicle cost is so high, why they can't afford to pay more than they can, is because of the government regulations that are involved. All the specific requirements they have to meet in order to be able to produce those vehicles.
But you're not seeing anybody else going down this road.
No,
Ford,
nobody's
Nissan. You're not seeing anybody else dealing with this.
They
it's
would
just GM.
No. All of the union companies will be eventually going this way, from what I understand.
Oh, okay.
The UAW just said that GM's the first one they're going to be helping out, and then they'll be moving on to the next one.
These articles did mention corruption within the union itself. You know, people pocketing money and other funds. So that's like another layer.
Yeah, that's another reason
that's,
and that cost
shocker.
goes into the vehicles.
Yeah, it does.
Like that, every single thing that is associated with getting that thing out the door, getting that vehicle out the door, is another cost that increases the value. GM is not going to pay for this. They're not the ones paying for it. The customers, the end customers, are the ones paying. Yeah. So, yeah, you can go get your little raises if you want, but I'm sorry, you're going to be charging your customer more. I mean, if you care about your customer at all, you might want to back off a little bit and maybe appreciate what you do have, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you're already making top industry rates on everything across the board. That's what's blowing my mind.
You know.
All right. So we're going to move into I about died. This article came out May 30th this year, but it just came across my consciousness because, you know, for some reason I can't read everything on the internet the day it comes out. At any rate, I did it again.
At any rate.
Son of a bitch.
You did so good for so long.
I know. So, online store removes the controversial "It's Okay to Be White" T-shirt. Like, this is hilarious. I died. This is like, okay, so originally, from what I understand, there was a 4chan thing that put this out, this whole this whole "it's okay to be white" thing, knowing that it would cause a media
Controversy,
shitstorm.
yeah.
And a lot of people were even saying it was an alt-right attempt at spreading white supremacy and getting more people into the ranks. Like, it went that far. So to read the article from The Independent, and as soon as I quit clicking on shit, so I'm moving out of my page, that would be great. All right, an online store has removed T-shirts emblazoned with the slogan "It's okay to be white" after public backlash. I don't want those ads playing.
Oh, I was like, did you do something I'm not aware of?
Oh,
We got,
effing
like,
pop-ups.
new background music.
Oh, I see what's going on.
A little bit of ambiance.
Yeah, I see what's going on. I'm using Chrome. Why am I using Chrome? I need to switch over to the Brave browser. Switch over to Brave, people.
Okay,
I got spoiled.
It's a T-shirt. Why does it need a video?
The story needed a 30-second video, I guess. But I got spoiled because on my laptop I use the Brave browser, and like I don't ever get pop-ups. This never happens.
You know, we need to open up a store that has shirts for everybody. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be gay. It's okay. Well,
so the shirts were sold on Trade Me, a New Zealand auction website by the manufacturer VJM Publishing, which claimed they were meant to be "quote unquote" funny. According to the New Zealand,
it's okay to work for GM.
It's okay to work for GM. According to the New Zealand Herald, the item description reportedly read, "Wear this shirt as a white person to troll your local communists, or wear this shirt as a brown person to troll stuck-up middle-class urbanites. Either way, it's funny." And that is hilarious. That is very hilarious. So the slogan had previously been linked to the far-right and white supremacy groups. After initial complaints, Trade Me's head of trust and safety, George Hiotakis, originally told Newslub that it would not remove the shirt because it did not breach its rules. Quote, "Items which marginalize individuals or promote one race at the cost of another cannot be sold online," he had said at one time. Quote, "While we know there is some debate about the slogan, we don't think these items cross that line. However, Trade Me has since removed the T-shirts after acknowledging in a statement that the slogan was divisive. Quote, "We knew there was some ambiguity associated with the phrase, so it's been a tough one for us to wrestle with." It's not tough, guys. It's a troll. Jesus.
How is it ambiguous?
It's not ambiguous at all.
It's no different than me wearing my Trump shirt when I wear it out in public.
That is different, though.
Huh?
That is different than you wearing a Trump shirt just because it's a different issue. One's a political orientation and one is a melatonin thing.
Well,
right?
I still do it to troll the shit out of people, though. That's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I deliberately wear it just to get a reaction from people, you know, and that's yeah. And does that sound bad?
No, that's called being a protagonist or a provocateur. There's nothing wrong with that. Our friend Milo Yiannopoulos is quite the provocateur.
I tell you what, though, I'm just afraid. Well, not really afraid, but I can almost guarantee you, if I wore that shirt in the wrong neighborhood, I'd probably get shot. Although I did wear it in the ghetto, and I still did get shot, so it kind of works out.
Yeah, I think you'll be okay. This is so ridiculous. What is our world coming to, man?
I don't understand. I mean,
well, two things on this.
But they
you have to make fun of things.
They
you
only
have to have a humor in life. That's the problem. A
not
lot
if
of these,
you're on the left, you don't.
That's my point. On
Like,
the left,
doesn't
you
the
have
left-
no humor.
Doesn't the left sound like the right did back in the 90s where they're trying to
Yes.
take the fucking
Yeah.
joy out of
Yes,
everything?
yes,
It's like you had the
yes.
super like
it
highly
seems to be a
Christian groups.
cycle that we go through like every 10 to 15, 20 years. You know,
Cycle, hell, it's a pendulum that swings from left to right all the
man.
time. I it's only a matter of time, especially if we get this Trump awakening thing going on in the next few years. We'll
Yeah.
probably have a big hard ass shift back to the
Yeah.
Christian right again. And
So first, by the way, I meant melatonin instead of melatonin. I was like, oh shoot. But secondly, so here's the basic thing about what's so divisive about this issue. So if it says it's okay to be white, anything that puts whiteness or Caucasians in a positive light is automatically Hitler. Like that's basically what the left is saying, right?
Yeah,
Because
Nazi.
the Holocaust.
You fucking Nazi.
But here's the question though, and clearly we know that, you know, whites are so racist. Like how come toilet paper is always white, huh? How come that gets preferential?
Oh,
you know,
don't give it
coloring time?
long. We'll change that to shit brown. We got to cater to the Mexicans and the black people. I'm telling you.
we gotta have shades
Yeah.
of toilet paper to represent
Hey,
all
they
races.
did it with Band-Aids. I mean, think about it. They actually legitimately came
Oh,
out
yeah.
with different color Band-Aids to cater to people that have different colors.
So
I'm really sad that this T-shirt company kind of stepped down and apologized, because that's just the worst thing to do to an angry outrage mob.
I know.
'Cause it just rewards them.
kowtow to the mob. It's disgusting. Like, I will definitely. I've never heard of this company, but now that I have, definitely never buying a T-shirt from them. Not that I was going to anyway, but now we've got a news.
We run our own shit. We finance our own, and we everything is self-funded for us on our platform.
Yeah.
I say we fucking make the shirts and run
Yeah,
with
but
it.
every shirt you wear is a white people T-shirt.
A white people shirt. White people. White people. Hey, Andy from the comments, he says, you should never judge a group of people based on skin color. That's unfair and dehumanizing. Unless the group is white, then it's totally fair and appropriate to dehumanize them.
I think what's worse than the people taking down the T-shirt is the comments from customers who are saying things like, it's actually not okay to be white.
My question is what do you want me to do about my whiteness? You know what I'm saying? It's like, if it's not okay to be white, then what do you want me to do? What do you want me to physically do about my physical appearance?
Oh, the only reason people are pissed off about it is because it feels racist.
I don't give a shit what your fucking feelings are about this shit. I'm going to wear what I goddamn want.
Not that it actually is racist. It just feels that way.
You should take a note out of the page book of Justin Trudeau. You know, he felt really bad for being white, so he took it into his own hands. He took some black makeup and...
Halloween's coming up. I should come on the show as blackface.
Yeah, so I put up a post the other day. Let's see if you agree with this. Is like I said, white people should definitely stop tanning or stop trying to get
now,
summer
how does
tans.
that work with Italians or people of a darker skin tone?
Let me finish. I said white people should stop trying to get summer tans because it's technically blackface light.
I mean, there is some truth behind it, but I'm sorry. Fuck off. That's what I got to tell people. You're an idiot. If you
so much fun.
It's just, this is what gets me is that people have become a society where they're just too sensitive to everything. And I have fun with it because it makes it easier for me to troll people. It makes it easier for me to get under people's skin, regardless of color. And it's just, it's fun times we live in because, at the end of the day, people are just fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
No doubt. Yeah.
It's just, use some common sense here. I mean, it's okay to be white. That doesn't bother me if you put on a shirt that says, it's okay to be black. It's okay to be Hispanic. It's okay to be gay. Cool, man. I'll pat you on the back and shake your hand and be like, it's okay to be proud,
I find it hugely amusing that we live in a time where somebody felt there was a need to create a shirt that said, or a sign that said, it's okay to be white.
But doesn't people understand that when the
hilarious.
left goes after this, it actually helps promote things? Like, if you're going to slam our show and you're going to post videos of us on social media talking about how bad we are and how racist we are, and don't you realize that you're helping our demographic because you're eventually going to reach people who are like-minded like us? They're going to start watching the show. You're helping our numbers is what you're doing. You think that it's hindering us when, in fact, it's not. Because the one thing that we've learned is that conservatives come out in droves, and they do support people a lot more than left does. It's just been proven.
Did we cover this? I just remembered this because this is along those same lines where somebody posted signs saying Islam is right about women.
I saw that.
Posters cause hysteria.
Huh?
Islam is right about women.
Well,
You understand
what does that have to do with 1 hour parking?
No, not the not
Oh.
the.
I was like, what?
Just the concept that Islam is
I
right
can't
about
see
women.
it.
Most of our listeners actually don't know about that flyer. If you take it off and wrap it around your head, it makes a really great turban.
That's an 8x12 piece of paper. Come on.
Or a dunce cap.
I'm not that stupid. Yeah, so I feel like we've covered this, but anyways,
Did Stefan Molyneux, did he cover this or no? Seems like I've heard something along the
Anyway,
lines.
so for those of you not familiar, local residents have found themselves confused in regards to posters that have begun appearing in Winchester, Massachusetts that read, Islam is right about women. Are the posters Islamophobic or are they misogynist? They might be a little bit of both, depending on how you see the world, and that's part of the point. So somebody quoted says, I'm all for free speech, but this is just awful. I've torn down 2 signs on Main Street in Town Center. More were found by the high school early this morning. The police are on their way to rip down the ones posted by Lincoln Elementary and the Unitarian Church. Please tear them down if you see any more.
I'm
I
so
don't-
happy that our stolen money goes towards police so they can just rip down
This is
posters.
see. This is just it. Both of these signs, "It's okay to be white" and "Islam is right about women." They're short, succinct, to the point, and they have these obvious conflicts,
Hey.
these contradictions built right into them.
We're gonna make that a shirt. We're gonna put "It's okay to be white" on the front and
Yeah.
put this on the back.
Put it on the back. Just steal.
Boom, man! We
steal 'em
making
all.
money.
But I don't know which thing to be mad about.
Yeah, I'm so mad about your everything.
That would confuse the shit out of people if they saw your shirt out in public. You know, they'd be like, "What?"
Now I saw a line on this that last article. I wanted to bring this up before we forgot about it. About the "It's okay to be white," the store that removed the shirt. They said, quote, excuse me. They said, quote, "There is clearly a line somewhere between free speech and offensive content." Hold on.
Fuck,
Somebody doesn't understand free
Nope.
speech if there is a line somewhere between free speech and offensive content.
Free speech is always going to be things that you don't agree with.
That's the
value
purpose.
of free speech.
That is the entire point.
You can sit here and call me whatever it is you want under the sun, but you have that right under the free speech to say such things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's your God-given right. You know, that's where other people from the left call it hate speech, which doesn't have a clear definition, but whatever. But no, it's just, man, I tell you what, this is, if you really want to make some money, folks, go out there and make you a shirt that says it's okay to be white.
Yeah.
And then put that thing on the back about,
Yeah.
Islam. What does it say? Is
Islam is right about women.
yeah. Put that on the back.
Yes. Also, go ahead and make an "It's okay to be white" coloring book, but you'd have a limited
We'll get
range a little bit.
we'll
but-
get Alice Vaughn on the show, and we'll have her make a box of crayons for those.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, back to the comment section for just a moment. Andy says, "I am totally with ending the war on drugs, federally sanctioned slavery in prison, and removing other forms of institutional racism." I agree with that. Yeah. Let's end the war on drugs. Just make. We've already talked about this.
Well, I've got my stance on
yeah,
that.
we disagree slightly on that, but
Yeah.
for the most part, we're on the same page. So he says, demanding I be ashamed of my skin color is a deal breaker. I will not help you dehumanize me. They can go blow. Wait a minute, we're missing a verb in there.
Or
Wait, no, the go blow is the verb. They can go blow what?
Powder?
They can go do blow. They can go blow me. They can go blow an elephant. Y'all fill in your own blank. Let's just make this a fun little ad lib tonight.
We'll take that screenshot.
I'm just being.
and then we'll say fill in the blank.
I'm being purposefully obtuse here.
I think it's
apologize.
a jihadi reference.
I apologize. I'm being purposely obtuse. So, as we wrap up here, Miss Rachel, excuse me, I wanted to show a little bit of your art from your. How do you say your website?
Amerta Studios.
Amerta Studios. Yeah,
Yes.
I got it brought up here so people can. No, I click things and I don't mean to. All right, so I got it brought up so people can kind of get an idea what you do. So you want to talk about your art for a second, and I'll just kind of click through and let people see what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course. So I've been drawing
They're
since
really
I was
good.
little.
Sorry, they're really good, by the way. These
You're
are
like,
awesome.
yeah, I'm a for reals artist. It would suck if I gave you my website and it was all stick figures, and you're like, you might want to consider some other profession.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have brought you on. I was like, this girl's a fraud. What is this? Anyway.
Yeah, I actually majored in illustration at Purdue University in Indiana, and yeah, I
was born in Anderson. I'm kind of around your neck of the woods.
Hey,
at
I
one
was
point
just
in my
up there
life.
recently.
Yeah.
And I grew up reading a lot of comic books, a lot of graphic novels, and when I was really little, I used to read tons of children's books, before people started watching a ton of TV and video games and stuff. I read a lot of books, and I loved the illustrations, and I was like, man, when I grow up, I want to be an illustrator. So my website, Amerta Studios, I've done logo design, graphic design, I've done graphic novel stuff. I've been published. I have my little resume on there, my artist CV. A lot of my work tends to be very philosophical and surreal. I kind of can't stand anything I don't understand. So when I look at a painting and it's a bunch of blotches or something, that personally, I respect it, but it also drives me nuts. So a lot of my work is very, a little bit Salvador Dali-ish. I designed a few tarot cards that I have on that site. I've done stuff for farmers markets. Like I've painted a olive oil barrel that was meant to collect ground and rainwater. and I painted a Cthulhu figure on there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, feel free to browse my portfolio.
I would be sorry to interrupt. I'd be interested about this. I'm interested in a little bit more backstory on this Soviet Union piece with the Soviet flag and the gas mask. It's really wild.
Yeah, it's a dystopia. That was a wash watercolor dystopia I came up with.
What's the story behind that?
That I did during college, where we had to take a bunch of images and kind of make this collage. And I saw the flag and kind of came up with an idea of this weird, hellish kind of landscape. This is a pretty big painting that's up on there.
I love that everything in the painting is like destroyed, on fire, or dirty, and the flag is like perfectly pristine and not even ragged whatsoever. I think you might be a communist. Are you a communist? Or is that just from your college days?
Well, secret Russian.
You're a Russian spy. She's a bot. She's actually a Twitter bot. It's just they're getting realistic nowadays.
We're help promoting the influence of the next election.
I know.
And, I've got a really popular silk screen on there about American culture. So first of all, my own. I'll get to that in a second.
Which one's that?
The fat woman with the McDonald's.
Yeah. Oh, duh.
So real fast, my own favorite personal piece is the Plague Doctor piece, which is a Death Tarot card. It's an oil painting. By the way, all that stuff is done by hand. That's all hand-done work.
Nice.
So my personal baby is the Plague Doctor, but everyone that I've ever sold to, all my clients, love that silk screen about American culture. That's the large lady with the McDonald's. And
it definitely there's a message to it. That's for sure. No doubt. But I do like the Plague Doctor. It's cool because it reminds me. I'm really into steampunk stuff, and I've created like a whole costume and everything for it.
That's cool.
it's
I'm into
so
the
neat.
artwork of like BioShock and stuff like that. I love steampunk and Renaissance kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Very cool stuff. Very cool.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about working on a graphic novel about anarchy. I know that Larkin Rose came out with a little sort of pamphlet comic book about what anarchy isn't, and I want to come up with maybe something a little bit more detailed and elaborate in graphic novel form. So it's just kind of one of the projects I've been thinking about.
Right on. And tell me a little bit about your RTR Truth Media project so people can check you out over there.
Cool. So I've been co-hosting with RTR Truth Media, which has been great. Tom has been really wonderful about that, and that is every Sunday at about 12 p.m. His time. At my time, it's usually about 1 p.m., I believe, Eastern Standard Time. But that has been...
On Sundays?
On Sundays, yes.
Oh, shoot. That'd be... If it's 1 your time, that means it's 12 our time, noon.
Yeah.
Right?
It's at noon your time, basically.
I mean, hint. In case you're looking for a guest or anything,
That would be cool.
I sleep. I work that night.
I could do it.
Asshole.
I could do that.
You don't need a co-host anymore. We learned that tonight. You're good without me, fucker.
I love you, buddy. I love you a lot.
Hey, it's okay to be a co-host.
It's okay to co-host.
Yeah.
On that note, I think it's a good note to wrap up on tonight. Listen, Rachel, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. I look forward to having you on some more in the future. You seem to be pretty knowledgeable and you know a little bit of something about something. So I'd like to have you on again at some point. And
next Wednesday when I get a call and say, hey man, we're not doing a live show.
Yeah, we're not doing a live show. And then 7 o'clock, Unframe of Mind just posted a new video. What? What?
Asshole.
That's
on my Facebook
on
account.
Bitch.
Yeah, just to add
a little slap to the face.
Rub a little salt in the wound, insult to injury.
Yeah. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Anthony, so much for having me, and
Absolutely.
thank you to listeners for tuning in and really adding to the show. So thank you so much. I very much appreciate it.
All right, and if you guys haven't done so, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I just said glad we could have her on.
Okay, gotcha. Well, anyway, so if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and if you want to join in some of these conversations in on the Facebook group, we're at Unframed Minds on Facebook, and it's a rowdy bunch of people, but we're really respectful, so it's a lot of fun. We can talk about some very interesting stuff. Matter of fact, I have a post scheduled to come out very soon that I'm challenging you guys in the group to describe heaven to an atheist. So that's going to be fun. That'll be coming out in about 10-15 minutes or so.
Hey, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Halloween edition.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing anything?
Mm-hmm.
Are we?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to go as?
I'm telling you.
Damn.
You don't tell me neither. We're not
Damn.
telling nobody nothing. Anyway,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna
I'm
go
already-
as whiteface.
Well, hey, here you go. I got, just wearing this kind of feel like Mickey.
We should do
you
like
know?
straight white face, and it's okay to be white T-shirts, both of us. Extra white.
Do you think we ought to put like Hitler on the background on the green screen?
Let's not get out of hand now.
Why?
Because that's the one thing that people will use against us to discredit us for the rest of
Did
eternity.
you fucking shit again? God damn.
So you guys have been
dude.
watching the Unframe
No,
of Mind show.
stop doing that.
You guys have been watching another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. It's been a fantastic night.
Listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.